Yeah, I think out of all of us, my heart goes out to Trix who has worked very hard in trying to make all of this very understandable. And I think she's done an incredible job, and I hope that's it's in the little details, which is not immediately obvious, but part of this stream is about showing you those little details, and showing and hoping that you can then learn a little bit more about how binary logic works, and how all of the operators kind of work, and then we'll also talk about how it works in game and all these sort of things. So I guess the thing about and why we've always kind of wanted logic. So just a quick check. Can everyone hear us? Is this good? Okay. So the thing about automation games in general is you need logic at some point because it allows you to actually properly create sort of if statements and to make sure that things only work when you want them to. Now, usually in other automation games, it's about getting to it's about taking care of having not infinite resources, trying to figure that out going in, and obviously with Oddsparks it's kind of more of the opposite. So that's why we pushed it onto update 1, because we didn't need it initially, because the point is sometimes a production line generates too much stuff, and maybe that's not as big as a problem as we'd like it to be. Let me very quickly, I'm gonna make sure. I just realized that something. Okay. Do not disturb. Very good. Okay. Go live. Cool. So that's why we're adding it now. And the whole point is that it can help you make sure that things only work when you need it to and when you want it to. And we have a lot of different things that we can show you, I guess. Do we want to already start that, or do we want to talk about other stuff first? Okay. So I guess we'll start with absolute zero, sort of like 101 and the basics. So we have at some point, from tier, well, we can actually already see it. So this is just a game save that has already a lot of stuff in it. So from tier 4, you can start unlocking the very basic logic. You just logic wire, the wire bridge, and the lever, because basically the logic is this buried wire that exists on a different level to all of your buildings. So if you have a saw bench, it kind of, the wire can exist underneath any and all buildings, and it kind of just connects as one network. It stores one data. It's able to store a signal, and that signal is either on or off. So basically the core thing is just, this is the binary logic, and you can just turn things on and turn things off. And this can be used to, help automate your production line. So, previously I didn't want the Spark to go and fill up the stuff, but now I do. And you can basically use a whole bunch of stuff with just the very basic logic tools. We wanted to give you just the lever and the wire, because in the beginning you're going to have to figure out what can you attach logic to, and kind of everything. You can attach it to any path add-ons. You can also attach it to the actual Spark slots within a building, and you can see if they're on and if they're off. We have these little lights in a lot of places now to kind of show you hey, this is being affected by logic and whether the signal is on or off. So you can kind of have a bunch of different ways of how you want to tackle a particular sort of building, and how you want to turn it on and off. There's also after the levers, you finally get sensors, which is the most exciting. That's when you finally can start creating if statements, and sort of so if something is full, then do something, and that's what, for example, this capacitance sensor is. So the logic, the signal stuff should be kind of simple, right? It's only ever on or off, and that might mean that but that means I can't create lots of complex things, but that's where the complexity is all in the sensor. So each sensor has a whole bunch of different modes. So this one has this capacitance sensor has absolute and percentage, and you can say, yes, this thing it only sends a signal if the observed inventory is less than or less than or equal to 50 items. We try to make it simple by adding this sentence into every single one of kind of the sensors and anything that works with logic, so that even if you're messing around with it, you're pressing buttons, you're trying to figure it out, and whatever you do, then you can like look at this and you're like, ah, cool, yes, okay, I now understand what we want to do with it and how it's going to work. So, for example, this thing, so it sends a signal and turns this blocker on currently if it's equal or greater than 50% full, but we want the opposite. So now a spark will come in and get an item if it is more than 50% full. And you can change that number to like, oh, please, I only want a spark to pick up an item and start unloading this building if it's 100%. Oh no, I stopped. Oh well. Or, kind of any other number. And that's sort of our basics of the logic system. Now you can start messing around with your existing production line and make sure that it only produces when you want to, and instead of like just all the time and then you're stuck with whatever you want. You can attach individual spark slots. So if we move this here, so each one of this, so we have these two symbols, a logic kind of input and a logic output, or I guess so this creates the signal. That's why it's a plug, and you plug it in the socket, and you can kind of attach all of them separately, however you want. The only thing to note is that a single connected network can only handle one signal, right? It can either be on or off. And that's how you just do the very, very basics of signals with Oddsparks, and what you can do to automate it, and kind of and from this you can then do a lot of stuff just to make it just to organize and optimize your production line. I have more things to show you if you want. But...
Well, one of the things that I had to figure out was actually the trickiest would be the gates, I would say, because a lot of them are like it was mentioned, they have binary things, right? But like it has to do certain things regarding if there's how many inputs or if one input is on and off or such things. Um, but like I guess with just the name itself, the logic experts or the logical people already know what they are because they are named as it is, like the N gate, the OR gate, the XOR, and stuff like that. But of course, the people who don't know about these things, like me, I had to research this, of course, but who would want to research this as a gamer? We had to explain this through the visual. And I think that was one of the trickiest things to figure out. And we had to somehow show it in a way with indicator lights and the animation. And that was the trickiest part. I wouldn't go into detail on how we did it, but it took quite some tweaking here and there, and if it was understandable. And that was it.
We can actually, or we can go into the gates actually. And so something that I also very quickly want to show is that, one more thing that's really important with the logic is that we also have wireless signal senders and receivers. So instead of doing just ribbons, and there's also, just wires, and there's also ribbons, but we'll talk about that later. You can actually just take care of things using wireless signal senders and wireless signal receivers. And you also have this little pixel to show if something's working or not. So very simply, you can connect, give them both the same item so they exist in the same signal. And things work wirelessly, and you can turn things on and off that way as well. Now, this, you can also do lots of fun things here. So for example, here I have a wireless signal sender with an Aether Shard signal on the channel, and right now it's on, but if I turn it off, it's actually going to affect something all the way over here, and it's going to turn this ancient waypoint on, and we can go there and show all of the stuff the wireless signals have like infinite range over the thing. So this is basically what it was blocking. It was blocking this spark feeding the ancient waypoint. So then, instead of you like you constantly wasting resources with the ancient waypoint, you can actually fit just the amounts that you want. This is limited to the items available, but we do have a lot of items. So we expect people to at the very least, we'll also continue adding items. So there's a lot of stuff that we in the playtests we have had someone who is like, I need more sort of signal channels. But we think that as the game expands, you'll need more. You'll have more items and then you'll have more signal channels, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Yeah, let's show you the gates. So I just want to show you first, obviously, like we have this pixel display and when it's on, it turns on. And now we have like all of these different gates. So this is the NOT gate. And we try to basically put in the iconography of gates from kind of computer science into the thing itself. So that's why the NOT gate has the triangle, and hopefully anyone who's kind of familiar with this sort of iconography can see it. And the NOT gate just reverses the signal. So because it is off, the NOT gate is on, and now that it's on, the NOT gate basically outputs an off signal. Then, for example, we have the AND signal, and in here we really tried, as you can see, it might look a little strange, but the point is that it actually works together. So you can kind of understand by playing around with it that, like, okay, yes, when the two things come together, then the signal is sent. And we try to make sure that you also can see it via animation, so that when you're like looking at it from a distance, you can kind of see like, yeah, okay, this part of the AND signal is off, and that's why I'm not receiving the signal at the end. And this is a lot of what Trix has done, and I think it's really amazing work, because we also have this for all of the gates. So we have our OR gate. So if you put in one, then it pushes just one. And if you put in the other one, then it pushes there. But obviously, both, it still works. It's still connected. So you can kind of familiarize yourself. We basically turned computer science more into, I guess, like, yeah, more kind of into something that hopefully is kind of immediately. It may take a bit of moment, but you can kind of like look at it and go like, okay, yeah, it's connecting, so that means it needs either one, and the animation helps you sort of understand. And the last thing that I want to show is the XOR gate, which only kind of outputs a positive signal, or only output a signal if you have received one instead of 0 or 2. So in here you can see the wire connecting here, but then when it's too much, it breaks the connection. And the physical, and yeah, hopefully the physicality helps you understand, like, okay, it is, this one is on and this one is off, and that's why it's on, but both of the signals are on. So again, from a distance, you can kind of see like, oh, it's currently off because both signals are on. Okay, gotcha. And yeah, we think it's super helpful, and hopefully not just gets you to understand the gates, like to understand the logic, binary logic concepts, sort of not just in the game and how they work for you, but also in real life, I guess, or in like computer science, and like understand them a little bit better. Yeah, and we also have like a few other sort of gates. We have some more complex ones. These ones are more related to like signals and signal timing. So, for example, this one is just, it sends a signal when it has received one that lasted more than 1.5, or you can change it for however long, an arbitrary number of seconds. So this thing goes down and then connects, and that's when it sends the signal. So you can, if you send the signal only for 1 second, it doesn't connect fully, and therefore you can see and understand like, okay, that's why it is not sending the signal, because it's not connecting. And this one, the buffer gate, is the same, where it only sends a signal for 1.5 seconds if it receives a signal. So even if the signal is only there for 1 second, the connection on the top stays until at some point it goes down far enough that it gets disconnected. yeah, we basically just try to make it's a little bit chunky, but it's very readable, it's very understandable, hopefully, to both someone who understands computer science and someone who has never who has played logic for who's never played a game with logic, and this is kind of their first go at it, because we do want to show things off to this a new audience, and logic can often be quite kind of a confusing concept, I guess, or like all of these, like, oh, what am I going to use this for? And actually, for most of the time, especially for Oddsparks, you don't really need an XOR gate, for example, but it's there in case you do want to mess around with it, and for whatever strange and wonderful constructions that you're going to make, so you can try to figure things out. And then we have the more complex stuff like the set reset latch and the data flip flop, but I don't know if we really want to communicate that one. But we've also tried to communicate some really complicated concepts here with the animations themselves. We don't expect a lot of people, or most people in general, to actually build a set reset latch or a data flip flop. But basically, these things allow you to sort of keep memory, and it's very important if you want to start doing things like making Doom. Oh well, the wires connect vertically. Yes. There's no. Oh, let me. So let's try it again. So the wires do connect vertically, but sometimes they look a little buggy. But they're inside at the moment. This one's inside. That's nice. Classic 12x effect. So sometimes we get a few visual bugs, but they do connect vertically, even long distances. So you can attach things up relatively easily. We didn't want verticality gameplay for the logic stuff, because that's you already have trouble with verticality in with the regular path system. So here, this is a lot simpler. Is there plans to be able to affect landscape? We don't really want to, or like terraforming is something that we probably will not add into the game, but we're gonna figure out some ways to allow the player to do more, to have a better control over the actual world generation, including making flat worlds, which we're actually, if you want, you can already create. I'm gonna write down the seed code. It was there in yep, as Christian wrote down. It was there in the devlog, hidden right at the bottom. If you've already been playing Oddsparks for several hundred hours and you just want to mess around, you can just make a new world with the seed flat and all caps, and you get a completely flat world to mess around with, especially for like weird logic creations. That's what it's useful for, right? And we have like a counter gate that can like lock up with each other, so each one of this is individual. And you can basically connect them up with each other, reverse the display of the correct ones. And you can also use it to just count an arbitrary number. So you can actually count in, I don't know, base 2 or base, whichever sort of number setting that you want. Maybe you want to make a clock. So that way you can make it so that the second sends a signal after it's received 10. And then the second one sends after it's received 6 signals. And then you can actually make an actual clock if you want. And it also has a way to reset all of the things if you want to go like, oh, let's reset the number. And then we can count again all the way from the beginning. The counter setting only goes up to 10, so you can't use base 16 or base 32, I guess, although I'm sure there's some way you can figure it out. But yeah. And then I guess the last thing that we should show you is the ribbons. Which basically, now that it's right at the end, and now that you have, if you want to try to consolidate your logic creations, this ribbon basically can handle up to 4 bits, and you just use these ribbon writers and ribbon readers, and they're just individually set, so you can kind of position them however you want. and when you open one, you can say what bit that it runs in from 0 to 3, and then it connects, and then it gets read by the ribbon reader, and it goes to it can go to individual things. Yeah, and this 4-pixel display then allows you to also figure out and make sure you understand which signal is being received in the middle of the thing. Yeah, that's almost everything of the logic stuff that we have in the game, not even counting the trains, which we'll go to in a minute. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff, and we're really looking forward to you guys messing around with it. I think that's the thing. I guess, like, because as inspiration, I'm someone who has played a lot of games like that has logic in them, but I'm not someone who plays a lot with the logic system itself. And this and we envision the very basic stuff, so not these monstrosities, but the more basic stuff. I really envision. I really hope that a lot of players kind of use them to just add a little something extra to their existing workstations and make something simple, because that's kind of what I expect, or that's also how I treat usually these logic systems. But I know that everyone, or rather, like, people who have played too much Factorio, people who have played too much Oxygen Not Included, that people want lots of freedom to create something wild, which is why we went and took the time to add, things that the game technically doesn't really need. But we figured you guys are gonna go out with it, and that's what, and we look forward to it.
I mean, yeah, I guess in theory you could do it. It has all the necessary tools, because you could build some. Basically, you have some Turing complete stuff here. You can use not AND gates and NOR gates and build everything you want. But the problem will be space, I guess.
I mean,
because
that's what
you have to build huge circuits to get this running. So I don't think you will have enough space.
and your CPU in general. Let's see how. I think that's the thing. We can color. So we're currently on a development build, so you might see glimpses of debug things. And we can actually color also just all of the logic wires and all these sort of things. This also helps you to focus on, like, this is the wire system for this, and this is the wire system for that. You can totally play the game, or like organize things how you want, because these things will get messy very quickly. I can tell you that. There's probably a way to do it, but I think at the moment, no. This one only counts up, but I'm sure you can finagle around something where you then need, like, something that adds up the counter, and then something that either counts up to it, or I don't know. We expect people to, we are also very open if you do, after messing around with our existing logic stuff, if there's something that you say, like, actually we really want this kind of logic gate or that kind of logic gate, obviously, please send us the whatever you want, like your wishes, and we'll consider it. Maybe there's something, if there's something that you guys really need. We tried to think of everything, but
yeah, I mean, if you want to solve a specific issue or something, and you can't do it with existing elements, then let us know, because that's very useful feedback for us.
Yeah, because we'll try and see if we can add it in.
Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to. I'm gonna quickly go to the debug menu and show you terrible things. Don't look. Okay. So if we have the coloring spark, and then you can just color. It works like that, where it just colors a certain area within radius. So then now you see that this is the green wire, and you can kind of then from a distance understand. It kind of works very similar to the way that it colors paths, where it kind of goes forward and then follows the connection. So you have to figure it out. But yeah, you can definitely color in the logic wires themselves.
Man, the Aether Sparks sounds get me every time. That's fun.
You can't change the colors. I mean, with changing colors in general, you have to use the Oddsparks. So at the moment, you have to color and organize things. You know what you feel is the most important, that kind of stuff. And yeah, and the pixel displays can also be colored. So what is anything? Oh, wrong thing. So now you can have, you can also have displays that have different colors, and get information about them. And so you can now see if something's working differently, so it's not just pink all the time. Yeah, the paint bucket and stuff exists a little bit later, where we expect you to. So it's one of the scheme packs that we added, and it exists here. So when you finish Machine Range 3, so with the Rocky, you get the Arty, and you have basic pigments. So you can then unlock, paint, including Serpentine if you want to remove paint. And you can then paint everything that you want, have all of the different colors of paint, and something out. Both, a tool for organization to help around, but also for expression if you want to color your base however you want. That I think counts kind of as terraforming, so it's at the moment we don't have that in plan. And we're gonna see, and hopefully we don't need it. We'll see. I mean, we do have the ramp, but unfortunately, we're not considering something like Timberborn, for example, where you can really build things up to each other and all these sort of things. We want the players to kind of really figure out and deal with and have to deal with a little bit of the world generation itself, which is why, sometimes it also needs a little more work. We want to polish it and make sure that it feels good. But we don't want you to just take over and have full control. We want you to sort of work with the puzzles and with the world generation. But obviously, we'll in 1.0 we plan to add a way for the players to change world generation anyway and mess around with that. So that's probably where you can then hopefully find the seeds and maps of your dreams. Which colors are available? So the colors that are available are, you can see it here: red, blue, yellow, and black, white, green, orange, purple. And the turpentine to delete the colors. So the thing that you also probably will want to figure out with logic is with trains. Because trains, we try to make it simple. So you can, you don't need to mess around with logic. So there's already a lot of different modes where you can just stop the trains for X amount of seconds. But maybe you want to stop the train and let it stay for 60 seconds. Well, then if you want to do that, you might want to, as I've kind of already shown, mess around with the counter gate. This one. Have like the signal timer to actually create something every X seconds. Oh, and I did it up wrong. There we go. So if 0.5, 0.5, and now it's going to count for however many seconds that you want, and then let's say you want to do it for 60 seconds. And it's now custom. So let's add a guy, add some. Let's make it a little faster. yeah, so you can basically arbitrarily make stuff. So the idea of the trains in general and the train stop is that you kind of have the basic modes that you want, but now if you want to do something different, you can use logic to basically make the custom and however you want. It's just the train stops. The train always stops in, and then if it receives if the train stop is receiving a signal, the train can leave, and you can just do. Then you can create whatever. You can then, yeah, mix up what the signals however you want. Maybe you want to use the capacity sensor to check if something's full. Maybe you want to use the timer, or maybe you want to check if, yeah, and then you use, okay, you want to see if both of them is full, and then you can use obviously an AND gate and all these sort of things. Or, you know, you can just do it very simply and go without, and just go loading mode, stop every train when the wagons are full, and unloading mode. Can you take a signal from the station to start the timer? You probably then would want something like either the motion sensor or the capacity sensor, then to notice as the train passes. Then that can send a signal. There's definitely ways of doing it. This is technically a bug, but we noticed it and we thought it was funny, so we kept it. So the pressure sensor, the pressure sensor actually just checks if something is on top of it. So the train, even though it's called a pressure sensor, the train actually triggers the pressure sensor. We thought that, you know, some people will figure out a use for it, so we kept it in rather than fixing it, and that it actually is only when a spark passes it. But yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a pressure sensor in the sense of that, like, it's supposed to be when initially used when an enemy or a spark or you passes over it. Then it sends a signal, but basically it's just because then somehow it's a bug where the train seems to recognize is recognized by the pressure sensor. So then we just
I mean, it's more like a motion sensor upwards.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
we do
maybe.
have like we do have a motion sensor, and that I think also works
Like an actual
with
motion sensor, yeah.
Yeah.
Should.
And you can do that with the train or with like the Spunny or yourself. So when there is motion, it sends a signal. You can see that it like lights up pink for a moment. Sure. The train, where is it? It's probably just because I ran out. It ran out of fuel. There you go. The train and the locomotive parts. So let's just attach these wagons. Show us the fuel. We can just. So the trains kind of exist on a specific tile, but obviously they are on the train tracks themselves. So if you how you tackle, if you want to like delete them or so on and so forth, you have to then grab the tile that they're actually currently on. If you want to do something like that. Yeah, no, I'm sure we'll fit in more things and more sort of outputs, because right now, yeah, there's only the pixel display. But we can definitely, we've definitely had some thought about making some kind of musical sort of thing. So maybe you can have a little jingle when it arrives, but we'll see. It's not. There's other things that we are prioritizing first, unfortunately. But yeah. So unfortunately, this build doesn't, or like this save doesn't have too much stuff. But we can definitely. So I'm sure some of our playtesters will start sharing stuff in kind of maybe the base showcase or all these sort of things. They are playing an older version, and some things were not available there. But I think for most players, we expect a very simple build. We just expect you that, like, oh, you're going to make it so that, for example, you have an exit, and then at some point, if something's full, it will then go to, for example, a compressor, and previously it won't. Those sort of things. I think that's the what you want to do, what we expect players to do, rather than do something that's incredibly super complex, because it's supposed to sit side by side with the path system, rather than kind of overtake or do everything instead of the path system. And yeah,
I mean,
there's
that was
no
one of
really
our goals, right?
yeah.
To just have like simple ways to build more complex things, like catapult and motion sensor, like simple solutions. Or
Yeah, exactly.
great
So
effect.
you put the spark thrower, right? That's already the motion sensor, right? Nice. So put the spark thrower there. Let's put the motion sensor there. And then we just connect things together. And then we attach it with sparks. And then the next time the motion sensor actually senses motion, it's got to move. I mean, I can also. Okay. It should send. Oh,
I think it's not you need to fill it with
I didn't
sparks.
put sparks in. That's not very smart. It's not very smart.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the game, right? You're just building things and you're like, oh, right, I need to do this. Yes.
We probably need a buffer.
Yeah. The motion sensor only sends signals for a short amount of time, and that's why you gotta use stuff like if it keeps it. Yep. And then send signal for 5 seconds.
For what purpose? Like, you can connect the motion sensor to a pixel, if that's enough, I guess.
Oh yeah, we can't call them back because they're attached to the spark thrower.
Well, I do think we have a big potential for like music-based logic stuff in the future. Let's see.
Yeah, we'll add that in the future. Yes, we do have wire bridges, because basically each logic system is like entirely connected. So this way, if you need something that overlaps on another, then you use you will use the wire bridge to connect them.
You mean if I use logic for my production line? Well, I actually don't know how to use the complex ones, but I have used the capacity sensor a lot, the, what do you call this? Of course, the switches, and I don't know, I don't think we have showed any decor yet, but I love playing around with the decor and the, what do you call this? Our infrared plate, but yeah, our pressure plate. So that is what I would use most of the time. For fun.
Our decoration system actually can. We have some lights in the decorations, and for fun, we thought that you can actually connect them to the logic system. Not that you need to; you can just have them up, and it looks nice. But you can also have them there if that's what you want, because we also have stuff like a pond, and maybe you just want to turn it off for whatever reason. You can.
But imagine walking down the aisle and all the torches lit.
Yeah, like
while you're light up. Yeah, so that's really fun.
At the moment, no, because that's probably like as Jaden said, because it's binary. I think we kind of we probably half expect you to maybe be able to have like. Maybe not necessarily alter the recipe of a single saw bench, but obviously you can then have things set up where this saw bench does this recipe, this saw bench does that recipe, and then and maybe part of your production line turns on and off depending on what you need at any one time. I think so the thing in general, or like the thing about Oddsparks and automation game that we like really enjoy is the map, like everything that is like as much as possible out of UI. Sending messages is not something that we've kind of considered, and that it's also unfortunately a completely different kind of worms if we because we, you know, I'm sure hopefully you know that we have PS5 and Xbox Series SX demo. We want to get this, we want to have Oddsparks on consoles when it's at the 1.0. And being able to send messages is its own kind of worms. So I think we'll definitely, now that you have a lot of people talking about like, oh, we would like maybe some kind of alarm or some sort of like ping system, maybe we'll figure something out like that. But yeah, we'll have to see exactly what we can do within the space and time, and what's we think fits our game best. We can try.
Yeah. We could also just have like another building, like a sensor, right, built next to the workstation. Or you can put in the recipe, and then on a signal it will set it on the workstation. I think there are a lot of possibilities. I think
Yeah,
we're just unsure if we want to have it.
yeah,
Right.
I think especially like the more complicated stuff that is just signal based, that can make the game, we think like it makes the game not like intimidating or those sort of things, but like the more complex stuff is then already takes up space mentally and that kind of stuff. And yeah, this is the Spark catapult, and you can, the Spark thrower, and you will unlock it right here. It's tier 3, and it allows, and it just, as it says on the tin, building that throws your sparks. Sparks act exactly the same when you throw them, and then you can use it to, you know, hunt creatures, or you could even theoretically place them on paths. Let's see. So there's lots of ways to figure out how this, how you can figure out how this thing works, and weird toys. Yeah, on the ancient bases and stuff. That's something where we think that's something we're considering, but probably for very late game. The needing to build stuff on something, on like, we like presenting this puzzle to people, because then it means you can't just like sort of plop things down, but you have to sort of consider the, you know, sort of exploration, figuring out where the whole map, where's a good place to create create a base, and so on and so forth. You know, now that you can create your own waypoint as well, then you have more of a freedom about like, oh yes, I want to create then a base here, I will add a waypoint, and all these sort of things. Creating something that is then allowing you to build everywhere. We kind of have tried that before, but we find that it's like then you kind of then the challenge of needing to pick a place to build becomes a little bit less interesting. But yeah, we'll definitely that when we add stuff, when we add ways for the player to kind of change the map, we'll probably add ways of like, oh yeah, I want lots of them, I want less of them, I want more space, all these sort of things, and we'll figure out exactly what's available to the player and what people can play around with. Maybe so at the moment, with the chain junctions, so something that we didn't like talk too much about, because this is primarily about the logic, but and not necessarily of the trains. Let me time mode, and then, although the train's probably just back here. Yeah, there it is. Nice. Okay, let's run out of fuel. Let's try this train. All right. So trains have a identifier, this locomotive identifier, and you know, you can basically add sort of whatever items. Well, let's accidentally deleted things. Okay, a spark, fuel, and an identifier. And how junctions work is very basic. So you can add, so if you add an identifier here, so if a train goes, you know, faces this direction, and it has this item as one of its identifiers, it will then take the junction instead of taking forward. there is like logic stuff that you can do with the junctions themselves. We have 30 seconds. That's why. As you might have noticed, you can actually attach logic onto the just the poles, and they allow you to both send signals, but also potentially receive signals. Where, like, as long as receiving a signal, it sends all oncoming trains and so on and so forth. We're gonna see what exactly like what sort of what more train stuff works. We did try essentially something more complex where you can like attach stuff to the train poles and those sort of things, but they didn't quite feel right. So we need to figure out what we can do. Oh, you can so in the saw bench, or like since it's one of the smallest buildings, so there's like it's comprised of these 5 tiles, right? And as long as you're not attaching those tiles to the actual input, then it's fine. It's not an issue at all, and they won't affect those things. So there's definitely some room, and you don't have to worry too much about accidentally affecting things. Oh, sure. So we have a so we took a little bit of time because some of you guys actually said that like, oh, we would love to support you a little more. Is there anything that we can do? And we didn't want to use too much time, but we made a supporter pack, and here you can see, and basically gets you some decorative buildings. So at the beginning, at the moment, now we have you can have these 5 statues, a beautiful statue of your favorite Spark. So you can like decorate yourself, and there's also, if we go to the character editor, 1 new top type. Here we go, royal. 1 new brooch. Does Oddsparks and 1 new head decoration. Spotter crown. These don't take in any colors, although I mean the brooch has the little gem that you can change the color of. But so for example, they have the same colors even if your Spark is black. The cape will always be red. And it's just these three decorative items and these 5 sort of statues, decorative buildings that is in the supporters pack. We're not. It's also the case that like if you do not have them, then they just will not appear in your decorations or in your thing. We're not like interested in like getting you to feel FOMO or anything like that about this. It's just something that since a few of you guys said like, oh hey, we'd love to support you a bit more. We really appreciate that, and we decided to spend just a tiny bit of time to create this, and hopefully, oh nice dog, yeah, and we might add a few more buildings, a few more Spark statues as we go along. Having a command button for commanding yourself to pick stuff up off the ground. So you can kind of just throw your Sparks to pick stuff up, right? Like you can throw them at like this leaves. But let's say, don't look. We're gonna. Let's say you already have a mess. I mean, so something that we found really fun is that there is a lot of solutions to in the game, but not everyone kind of or like a lot of different toys and a lot of different solutions. But sometimes people are like, oh, there's kind of only one way to do this. So if you are interested in like picking up a whole mess, because you just did this, have you considered that beautiful boy, the Puffy Spark, can not only pick up gases for you, but collect items so that they're in very nice and easy to pick up bundles. So it's we added a badge because we realized that not a lot of people actually knew about this, which is fair. I think you kind of imagine that these guys only pick up the miasma and gases and stuff. But they also have a lot more uses, including combat. You can stun enemies and all these sort of things. But So, try to make sure that all of you figure out all of the different things that your Spark can do. Because there's sometimes there's lots of adventure things that they're able to do that maybe you didn't quite realize. Oh, I don't think so. I think you probably want to try to remove the gas first by Puffy Sparks. That's still fighting a Squilican is probably still quite difficult. But at least the Pengus is probably a little easier because previously the Pengus had a very heavy mass and was not sucked up by the Puffy Sparks, but now you can stun them relatively easily. Automate the purple rocks. You mean the the Aether Shard. So previously, yeah, like the Aether Shard was something that was more difficult to automate, but now in Tier 3, you actually have the Spark Thrower, and this thing will allow you to automate the production of the early sparks, of the Aether Shards then. This was something that we kind of always wanted, but unfortunately just had end up being low to our list, so we've only managed to add it now. But it's here now, and it's going to be the thing that allows you to, automate and fight, sort of spunnies or anything that you want, and get a bunch of Aether Shard without really needing to fight all the time. Here in our in the devlog that I wrote up, there's also an image of a farm. Just double checking that you can. No, you. Right, I'm sharing the game and not the actual screen. Yeah, like there's very like you can set it up that these spark throwers can you can fill them with choppy sparks or with anything you want, and then they throw it at the enemy. And maybe you need a few of them, but they're there to definitely help you automate your farm, your Aether Shards. We'll let you figure that one out. It's a pretty fun challenge. It gets a little messy, but that's kind of the thing. Yeah, the enemies in general have a spawn point, and some of the enemies have like more invisible spawn points. I mean, the Forest Spunnies have a very obvious one. But yeah, they then respawn in that similar area. So then you can just set up, kind of the spark throwers and these things, and then they will respawn at some point, and then and maybe you want to set these up in several locations and figure that out. But yeah. I think they spawn every 10 minutes or something. No, I think we extended it to like every 15 minutes or so. So you might want to set up things in different areas. Yeah, in multiple sort of different areas. Lag and low frames. I think we'll have to, if you want to put up on bugs and feedback and tell us like your computer setup or anything like that, maybe we can figure stuff out. That's because that's also very important for us to know if general the game is like if there's a piece of optimization that we really need to do. So please tell us. Give us some more information about your computer setup on the thing, on your on the bugs and feedback, and then we can try to help you figure that out. Breaking the Forest Spunny. Let me see if I find. Yeah, okay, this one done that. So the Spunny nest or the Spunny burrow, it can be destroyed. In general, everything that is in the game does respawn at some point. It just takes a little extra time. So you don't need to. So maybe you would prefer not to accidentally destroy the Spunny burrow, so that the Forest Spunny respawns faster, because the Forest Spunny respawns with the burrow. Through the burrow. So this thing spawns the Spunnies. So if you accidentally delete this or destroy it, at some point it will respawn. But maybe then you want to use, for example, just anything that doesn't have cutting damage, so that or just regular stumpies, so that then you can get the Forest Spunny but not the burrow. Trains can switch tracks and go to different stations through the junction. So using the identifiers, and that's how you want to tackle that. Yeah. And you can also use logic with the train poles to make it more if there's something that you specifically need. Like you want only every second train to go to the junction or all these sort of things. Yeah, we hope, please play around with it. Tell us what strange things that you can, that you make, and the idea of like why we even have a Discord and all these sort of things is that so that you guys can share information with each other and find it easily and share builds and all these sort of things. I don't think wires actually have a distance limit. Flo, do you know if the wires have a distance limit? They don't, right?
No,
No.
shouldn't.
Yeah. There you go. Is it climbing up? Yeah. So, but I mean, building a lot of wires is maybe not what you want. So you would rather use the the wireless signal sender and receiver since that's a little easier. Oh no, we just like the basic path. We wanted the wires to be the logic wires to be free. So you you can basically mess around without being sort of maybe annoyed at like, oh, this thing is not quite set up right, or all these sort of stuff. I mean, obviously, some of the logic stuff does require some items, but they don't require too much because we just want you to kind of get to there and mess around and try it out, rather than necessarily then be kind of like, oh, I don't have enough items to finish what you have and what you're trying to create. I mean, we'll see. I think there are a lot of we might add more if a lot more people ask for it or figure out like how this sort of things work, because yeah, we want to make it also digestible enough for a lot of people, and that means removing information and removing functionality. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different items, so you can I mean, we'll as we develop feedback and we'll figure it out, we'll see. And I think we want to wait until we get a lot more feedback about these sort of systems, but we're definitely open to changing these sort of things. So at the moment, regarding blueprinting and all these sort of stuff, so we currently have our copy tool system, and it sort of allows you to copy any kind of construction, and that includes logic construction. There is we are trying to figure out, or we want to figure out some ways to maybe, like, this copy system is like the most basic version of it, and we'll figure out how to add into it. So maybe there's something that we can do like blueprints, or a way to showcase things so that it's easily shared. But at the moment it's now more just taking screenshots and showing how things work. Copy does copy the settings for stuff. So, or at least it should. Let's.
I mean,
let's
if
test
it doesn't, it's a bug.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not sure if it's tested for everything, but I hope so.
Yep, it works. This is now 4, and this is 4, and the rest is 10.
Yes.
So, oh no, there is one bug. So, the reverse display is not saved. Terrible. But
Oh, damn it.
but yeah,
Put it on the list.
we'll put it on the list, and we'll fix it up. Thank you so much, I guess, for everyone's time. I think it's been an hour, so I think we'll call it a day. If there's any more questions that you guys, please feel free to ask them in the general chat or ask the devs. Thank you so much for joining us, for playing the game, and yeah, we hope to. We're already working on update number 2. And we'll add more. We're still figuring out exactly the shape of it. But we're looking forward to kind of finalizing. Yes, this is what we're going to add. Updating our roadmap, updating you with like exactly what we're going to add on it, and showing you some very fun things that we're still, finalizing. But yeah, it's going to be really wonderful. I think you're going to enjoy all of this, especially this new, more adventure parts of the game. All right, then yeah, hope everyone has a lovely rest of the day. And we'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye, everyone.